Hi everyone, my name is Michelle and I'm here to show you how to make some pop-up cards. So there's a few different types of pop-up cards that I'm going to show you today. A few simple ones, but once you get the basic idea of the mechanism of how to do that pop-up card, then you can change and swap it up and make a whole lot of different kinds of cards from those basic ones. I'm going to show you some examples to start you off, just to get your ideas of what we're going to be doing, and then I'm going to show you how to make that and then what you can do to change it up. So one of the first kinds of pop-up cards that I'm going to show you is one that has a mouth in it. It's like having a, I'm just getting a few here, having a mouth that opens up, almost like a beak. So it is, if I open this card up inside, it has a mouth that opens and it's just like a beak. There's different things you can do with that beak or mouth. And here's one that is one of my favorites with the shark. And here is another one that I love, and this is actually combining two kinds of pop-ups into one, and this is the one with the frog. So with doing the spiral, let's have a look at doing spiral cards now. And I've just used the concept of a spiral card to do the mouth of my frog. But I've also got some other cards here that use the spiral to create their card, and they're really quite fun and quite easy to do. So here is one I've got. I've just decorated with some butterflies, and when you open it up, you have the spiral pop open, and I've just glued butterflies that I've cut out onto my spiral. I have put in your pack some cardboard butterflies that you can trace around, and so you've got some templates to cut out some butterflies. It's just scrap cardboard that I've die cut some butterflies for you. You feel free to trace around those and cut some out for yourself. So how do we do this spiral? I'll show you that. What I will show you first is I've done another one, a spiral, and this time same thing, but I've put stars and stuck stars on it. It'd be really cool if you put a rocket ship on it, or have some creative ideas of what could go on your spiral. So let's put these ones aside and let's have a look at the spiral one. I'm just going to move those aside, move my glue stick out of the way. So again, taking your cardboard, because that is the thick one, I'm just going to use my thumb to crease along the spine of it. With this, we're not actually cutting, which is really cool. We're not actually making a cut in it. So what we're going to do is actually take a circle. Now you don't want your circle too big, and it certainly has to be fitting in your card. So you can trace around something, trace around a cup, drink bottle, find a circle. A cup's really good. I've got, if you have template tracers, fabulous, use those. And I've got even some sticky tape, and I'm going to use that as my circle to cut out of. I am going to use, I think, the orange again, just as the spiral. So I'm going to trace my grey lead a circle. Once I've got a circle, then I'm going to draw with my pencil a spiral, and it's going to spiral into the centre, go round and round. Not too thick, but you don't want it too skinny either. You're cutting this out, and stops in the middle. Grab your scissors and cut out your circle for a start. And then cut that spiral. So just follow your drawing. If you're interested in pop-up cards and different kinds, and maybe even some more trickier ones, if you do have access to the internet, a really good website to check out is called Red Ted Art. Red Ted Art is a great website for kids of all ages and adults as well, because I love it. And it has got some really cool ideas and also YouTube tutorials on pop-up cards. So I recommend that if you do have access to the internet and you want to find out some more, feel free to check out Red Ted Art as an option. I know there's plenty more out there, but Red Ted Art's a really good one. I'm nearly into the centre of my spiral. Got to the middle. Okay, pull out my, now we just want to flatten it back out down on the table there. Glue stick is fine, but if you have double-sided tape at home, which you may not, which is all good, glue stick is fine. Double-sided tape's really handy as well for this. But what you want to do is open up your card. You want to take the very end of your spiral and stick the very end with some glue, and then pop your card down and just press that onto one side of the card. Just massage that down so it sticks. Now, the center of the circle is where I need to put the glue. So I need to sort of pull it up. I'm going to put my finger under there, and that dot in the center, I'm going to put a fair bit of glue on that. I'm going to just close the card on that spiral and rub that center point, because that bit's going to stick, so that when I open it up, it's now spirals open. So that's the easiest way to create your spiral. So now it's glued down. You can decorate that however you like. I have put in your pack some star templates, so you can trace around some of those, cut some out and use those star templates to glue stars on if you like, and it might be different size stars. As I said, with this one I put butterflies on it. So be creative with how you might want to decorate your spiral, but it's pretty cool to open up a card and see the spiral pop out with the different things glued onto the spiral. So that spiral is what I did for the mouth of the frog. I just glued one end of the spiral into the frog's mouth and the other end here, and I put a little fly on it, which I cut out of a circle, and then I cut a circle in half and trimmed off the ends to round them off to make the wings of my fly. And that is how I've created the tongue of the frog, as well as incorporating it into a mouth or a beak pop-up. So that's two kinds of pop-ups that you might be able to make. The next kind of pop-up card that we're going to have a look at is making a pop-up card that's what I call a box cut. It's another cut in a card, and the box can be used for so many different variations of it. So this one, which I've just decorated the front with just strips. If you've got a ruler, just cut strips of coloured paper. It looks really effective. But when I open it up, this I've cut out and made a cake just out of scrap paper and decorate it. But if I turn it on the side, you can see that it's what I call a box cut, and it's just glued on the front of the box cut. You could glue all kinds of things on the front of your box. You could even cut things out of a magazine. If you're cutting things out of a magazine, it's a really flimsy paper. It's a good idea to glue it onto cardboard first and just scrap. I use a lot of scrap cardboard. Any boxes, cereal boxes, anything like that you have makes great cardboard for sticking pictures and paper onto to make it thick. So if you've got a magazine picture or something that you want to stick there, and glue it onto some cardboard, cut it out and stick it onto your box cut pop-up, and that's really effective. I've got some more that I want to show you that is the same cut. Let me find which one it is. Here. This one is the same cut. It's a box cut. I've just cut it up higher on the page, on the piece of paper, and I've stuck a rocket that I have designed and made onto that. So it's the same cut, just with something different stuck on the front of it, a different decoration, but exactly the same cut. This one here is exactly the same cut, but I have turned it into a box and stuck balloons out of it. I have made a box out of it, but it's exactly the same process and design. It's just then decorated with things stuck out of the top of it. Here is another one which is more than one of those box cuts. It's got multiple box cuts. Same concept, but it's got multiple cuts on it. Okay, so I'll show you how to do that box cut for those cards that have the pop-up box cut in them. So again, taking your cardstock, your thicker piece of card, make sure again that we are cutting into the folded back bit. Make sure that you are holding where the fold is. That's really important, that you cut where the fold is. Decide where you want your box cut. I'm just going to do one fairly low down, and I'm going to cut 2 cuts into my card, and the size of the box will be dependent on what you want. Make those cuts even, so the same depth, and then fold back where you cut. So fold it this way and fold it the other way and crease it well. That helps when we push it through, like when we pushed through the mouth one that we did. Okay, so open up and then just push through that box. I'm going to close it and just squash it down, and you can see that now makes a box. So you can do your box this way. That's what I did for the rocket, but I turned it up so that the rocket was sort of higher up, the cut was higher up or lower down. The ones I did with the balloons was just like that. I covered the white bit with a piece of paper when I squash it flat. That's how much paper I cut out and stuck on to make the balloon one. So I just covered that bit with coloured paper. So depending on, I might put that there, depending on what kind you want to do, that's sticking on the rocket, is where you make your cut. So for this one, I might just make that card, and I might want to draw a picture and colour it and cut it out and stick it on. So I might have drawn a picture or a picture from a magazine. This one's from a magazine, and I can just glue that on. One thing you do have to be careful on, that your picture isn't so big that when you close the card, what's going to happen here is it's so big it's going to come out the side of the card. So you have to be very mindful. I might actually turn this card this way so it opens this way, and I can stick that in there so that when I close the card, it doesn't stick out. So you have to be very mindful of the size. Really, the size is pretty much half the card. So I can change the direction of my card. So rather than having it there where it sticks out the side, I'm going to turn it that way and glue it on there. So I'm just going to put a bit of glue on that box. Line up my picture and glue it on. So now I have an instant pop-up card, just like that. So just removing that off the box cut. The box cut, let's just show you how to turn that into a box to have things pop out of. And it's really cool to, you can put stars coming out of it, butterflies, flowers. I've got balloons. Be creative, what's popping out of it. You could have sports equipment, something. So let's just make the box. So with the box cut, which was just to refresh you on the fold, making 2 cuts, folding it and squeezing it, opening it up and pushing it through. Just take some paper, whatever color you like, just measure it out and fold it about there, and fold it about there. It's about the size, and just cut. So that fits on. Just glue that on to your box. I've just glued on that big piece of colour onto the box. I'm just going to poke it back through, push it closed, just squash it closed again. There we are. So I've got my box. If you want to do some tabs on it, like the box has some the flaps, I just cut some extra bit of paper. Make it a little bit thicker, because just fold that in half. Fold it in half. Even gonna cut a bit of a edge off there, and then that glues just on that tab bit that folds, and that gets glued inside box. You might need to trim it up so it fits. And that makes the tab, or the flap of your box. Just do one for each side, and that just makes your box look a little bit cool. So to put the things coming out of it, just cut some strips. I like to use thicker card. I even use different recycled boxes and things that I have at home. If I have a box of cereal or something like that, just some recycled cardboard is awesome for this. And I'm just going to cut some fairly thin strips off. And that's what I'm going to use to stick my balloons or stars or flowers or whatever it is that's going to pop out of your box. So I'm just going to put some glue on my balloon, glue that on. You could colour it in too if you mind. This is just pretty plain, but up to you. And then that glues, put some glue on that to stick that into your box. So you could stick some on the background as well. Just make sure it's not glued up over the top. so that when you do fold the card, it's not sticking out the top. But if you put lots of those in and stick some on the background, that is the start of your surprise box. Sometimes it needs a bit of time for the glue to dry. It can get a bit sticky. It's a good idea to have a cloth to wipe your fingers too as you work, because they do get sticky. So that is how I've used the box cut to create a box on which our things pop out. Now, as we know, we've got a big gap here. So you will need to get another piece of card paper, coloured paper, and whether you use the whole lot to create a sleeve over the top or just half of one. Sometimes you might want to just use half of one. Cut one in half. Fold it in half. Again, line up your corners. Hold it down and you can use half of one to just cover over that cut area, and then you can decorate the front of it however you like. So that is the box cut with the pop-up burst. Again, this is one where I've just made a rocket and stuck it on. That was like the car one I showed you. And the cake, pop-up one with the cake, is like the car as well, where I had the car stuck there instead of the car. I have made a cake just cut out of cardboard and decorated and stuck that on the front, and that pops up. Again, just be careful how tall it is, because it might just pop out of the top of the card if it's too tall. If you want to do that box card, and you can be very creative, and I've used that box card to do multiple cuts to make these candles. In order to do that, where I've got lots of things popping out, you could use that to put someone's name and maybe cut out letters and put the letters of their name or happy birthday or something across there. To do that, it's the same process, but I took my grey lead pencil and I worked out how many candles that I wanted, and I coloured in the candles on the outside. Now, it doesn't matter because it's going to be covered over, so if you have to rub out and it gets a bit messy, it's okay, no problem, because it gets covered up. It's a good idea not to make it too fiddly or too thin, because that gets really tricky. But I've just coloured in here, just really roughly, like five candles. So I'm just going to take my scissors and make the cuts either side of my drawing, the candles there. I'm cutting, just reminding you, I'm cutting on the fold, so make sure you are cutting on the fold side of the card. Now I've made those cuts, I'm just going to push, I'm using my drawing, I'm going to push those and squash it. I'm going to push that through and squash it closed. I'm going to push that through. You can also, if you want, as I did before, squeeze it either side. That helps before you open it up and push it through the other way. I find that sometimes that is really helpful to just bend it back each way and squeeze it down, squash it down before you push it through. So I'll do that for the last ones. Push that one through and the last one through. Just squash it down. That is how I did the folds to make the candles. And I just stuck paper on and cut out some little wicks and some flames, which are actually little mini hearts that are upside down. So that is the box cut. Again, on this side of it, that is where you will take that folded piece of paper and glue it on. It's a good idea to glue on here rather than glue on here. That means you don't get glue in these bits, because then it can get a bit sticky. So put your glue on the cardboard bit before you glue on the back. Glue one side and then turn it over and put the glue on the other side. So that's the box cut. So we've done the spiral cut, we've done the box cut, and the other cut is what I call a mouth cut. The mouth cut's really cool. It opens up as a beak or a mouth. This one I've incorporated the spiral and the mouth cut all in one in that one. So the mouth cut makes a really cool talking pop out. So for that, again, we take our card stock, the card. Just going to crease the back of that so it's sharp. Use my back of my fingernail to crease. It's really handy for creasing. So we need to make a cut. So depending on whereabouts you want the mouth to be, I'm going to just do mine in the middle. I'm going to do a cut. Now you can fold the mouth back to as deep or as shallow as you want, depending how big you want the mouth. You can fold both sides back. Just bend them back each way, back and forth, and just crease that. Then open it up and push through your beak or mouth. That's it. Push it through, close the card, and again squash it flat. Squash it flat. So you now have an opening mouth, a beak. With that cut, I have just then taken my textures, pencils, and I've drawn the shark on this. I've just done basic shapes. Really good to think about shapes. Just done an oval, and then I've done some triangles for the fins, and even a triangle for the tail, and then long triangles for the end of the tail. With the teeth on that, all I've done is taken my scissors and I've cut little V's or little triangles out along the top and the bottom of my mouth cut, and then I've just got sharp teeth. But you might want to just cut some triangles and stick some fangs in for yours. Like for your monster, you might want to add some fangs or something, or even a tongue coming out. Doesn't have to be a spiral tongue like my frog. I've just attached one of the ends of the spiral to the inside of the mouth, the other end of the spiral here, and that's how I've made the tongue. So we've got the mouth. If you're not drawing like I did with the shark where I've drawn it on, when I did the monster, I actually cut out paper and stuck it on. So with that, just going to move these ones out of the way, to the side. With that, I grabbed a color that I wanted to use for my monster. Actually, I'm going to do a, here we are, yellow monster. I'm just free cutting this, but if you want to draw it out and cut it out after you've drawn it, feel free. I'm just going to do a free cut shape. It's completely up to you how you create your monster, what your monster looks like. I've got my monster cut out and I want to stick him on here. So I'm just going to squash back my mouth back flat. I'm going to put glue all over my monster and stick him back over the top of that mouth that I had previously cut out. So now you can't see it at all. Don't stress. When I fold the card back closed, so I can see on the outside where I previously cut, and I'm going to recut just back where I cut previously, back over that cut, and I'm going to refold where I previously folded. Then I can open up and push it back through like we did the first time. Push it into, that's it, and then fold it flat and squash it down. You to just crease those folds, make them really strong. And there we are, we've got our monster with his mouth. So then you can decorate it however you like. I like to use the scrap bits to decorate. That's really cool to use those bits. I can make a bit of a hand there. Cut some eyes. If you're cutting eyes and things like that, sometimes it's tricky to do, to cut circles and things. I have put some templates of some circles, but little circles. You might want to use your glue stick to trace around and trace around your glue stick and cut circles out that way. If you want really little circles, I actually am fortunate. I've got some circle punches, but you might not have circle punches. Just find a cup, something like that, a texter, and trace around will give you a really small circle for eyes. Just whatever you have access to, just to cut some circles. And if you fold a piece of paper in half, trace around and cut it out, you can cut out two eyes at once, which is pretty handy for making eyes if you want two at the same time to fold your little piece of paper in half. So just decorate it up, really fun. But this is a card that has a hole on here, so we need to cover that up. So you can either cover that up with one of the whole sleeves and pop the sleeve over, or again, you can just use half of it, half of the paper, and just cut it in half. That means you've got that color that you can decorate and make some decorations with as well. Half the sleeve, and stick it down half of it, and also you'll see that color in the back of the mouth. So that is how to do the mouth card. Just be creative with what you could turn it into. Chicken, a bird, all kinds of things. As I said, you could make a tongue sticking out. Let's do that while we're here. Tongue sticking out of his mouth. You could make it a funny tongue if you'd like. Your creativity it's up to you how creative you want to be. I'm just going to put a bit of glue on that, stick that in there, fold it down so that when you open that, you've got a tongue sticking out. So that is the mouth card. I hope that you've really enjoyed and got inspired about the different kinds of card, the box cut, the mouth cut that we did, and also the spiral cut that we did, the spiral. They're the three cuts that we have had a look at, and using those you can just make so many different options and ideas in what you can do. This one is using the mouth cut, but I only folded half of the mouth, so I did the same thing. I made the cut and fold, but I folded it quite long, and I've turned it into an ice cream. So that's just taking the cut that we know how to do, but folding it only on one side and folding it quite deeply And in that, I've just changed it up to do something else and make an ice cream. So be creative with what you can do with now the 3 cuts or the 3 ideas that I have taught you. And again, as I said earlier, if you are interested in doing more of these, Red Ted Art is a great website to go to check out, because they've got so many options of different cards, pop-up cards that you can follow along with and get ideas and expand your repertoire of cards, all the different ideas and different types of cards that you can do. So that can be a vase or an ice cream cone, just the same thing as the mouth card, but only folding half of it rather than folding the top up as well. I hope you're inspired by the different cards that you can make, different types. Have fun. Use the templates that are in your pack, and there's plenty of different colors of paper, and I can't wait to see, hopefully, what you have got up to.